The Nats just got absolutely pummeled against the Arizona Diamondbacks, but let me tell you this, it could be Dylan Cruz time, and the reason why that is, well, I'll tell you after this.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as our show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And of course, while you're at it, make sure to search up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcasts, including over on YouTube. Again, just search Locked On Nationals. Hit that subscriber button, drop a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whatever you want, I am happy with. Later on in today's show, we'll be discussing the Arizona Diamondbacks series as the Nationals just got their teeth kicked in by the DBacks. What was that? We're going to end on a negative note here because it's August. It's the dog days of summer. It's also the dog days of baseball season right after the MLB trade deadline. So let's have a little bit of a miserable Thursday here. Why not? Also, second segment of today's show, I'm just going to warn you, if you haven't really seen, lower your expectations. Lower your expectations for this Nats team, but you look towards to the future, and we'll discuss that in the second segment because there is stuff to look forward to, and there are stuff to root for, but it's not going to be wins. I can tell you that in the second segment of today's show, but if you haven't been aware, we are creeping towards Dylan Cruz time. You heard that correctly. The Nationals' number one prospect could be making his major league debut maybe even as soon as this weekend. We'll discuss that. But of course, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Again, $20 off. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for your first purchase. Of course, terms do apply. Speaking of terms applying, Dylan Cruz, inserting him into this Nationals lineup, what kind of juice would that bring? Well, there's a lot of different things. Number one, what Dylan Cruz would provide for this offense right here and right now is, number one, a little glimpse of the future. You have James Wood already up, who, by the way, added a few hits to his season in yesterday's game against the DBacks. James Wood is one of those guys where we all kind of know the hype around him. We've seen the results in AAA. He's had his up and downs in the majors, but he has still looked pretty good. If you can now see Dylan Cruz and James Wood up in the same lineup together, number one, it puts a lot of pressure on opposing teams in Major League Baseball because you could make an argument that there is no better 1-2 punch as far as prospects go in baseball other than James Wood and Dylan Cruz at this moment in time. But also talking about it, the reason why James Wood, or really not James Wood, but Dylan Cruz should be up in the majors here pretty soon is I've talked about this a lot. I truly do believe that Dylan Cruz and where this outfield stands as far as the future goes went into play as far as trading Lane Thomas. I was always under the belief that the Nationals would trade Lane Thomas no matter what at this year's deadline. Because think of it. I'm not good at math, but I can do this math. You've got your James Wood. He's going to be in the starting lineup for hopefully the next 7+ years. You've got Dylan Cruz knocking on the door of the major leagues, should be up here relatively soon. You've also got Jacob Young, a very cheap, kind of the minimum kind of guy, who is again, a very cheap option for this team right now, who plays very good in center field. You've also got other guys. You've got your Robert Hassel III, who's still coming back from injury, but he's still part of this future as well. You've got even guys who are further down the line. Seaver King, maybe he's up in the majors by this time next year if he flies through the system. The Nationals have options. And also, even by the way, Yohandy Morales, someone who's in AA, who hit a home run in his first big league or first minor league rehab assignment, coming back from his injury back in May. They have outfield options at this point. I think going forward now, you have to consider Dylan Cruz to be a big leaguer here soon. You have to. And the reason why that is, we all know the numbers across AA and AAA aren't really all that impressive. He's above league average, but still you would like to see more of someone who is a top 10 prospect in all of baseball. We can all admit that. But what Dylan Cruz has been doing here recently, number one, has been hitting for power. Number two, his exit velocities are way up. And also, he's not striking out as much. Over his last 16 games, and really ever since the Futures game, even a little bit before that, but over the month of July, it is August 1st already, which, by the way, oh my God, only 2 more months until the national season is over. That sucks, but whatever. Over Dylan Cruz's July season, he batted .269, a .380 OBP, a .463 slug, which is a very important number in my opinion. It kind of goes to show you how he's really kind of ramping up here. And had an .842 OPS. A lot of doubles, had 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, 11 walks to 11 strikeouts, and also had a triple in there. Dylan Cruz is major league ready, in my opinion. I don't need to see more from this guy. I think if Dylan Cruz were to be put in this lineup today, at this moment in time, he's a top 3 hitter, and it's not even close. You've got CJ Abrams, who, with Jesse Winker and Lane Thomas now out the window, James Wood is up there with CJ Abrams as your 2 best hitters. And then you have Dylan Cruz. Juan Yepez, he's obviously in the fold as well, the way that he's been mashing the baseball so far with the Nationals over the last few weeks here. But is that sustainable? That's probably a better question than we can tackle down the road. But as far as your future goes, this is one of your goals for 2024. The rest of this season, the Nats have waved the white flag. They waved that white flag probably 2 weeks ago, for being honest. When you trade Hunter Harvey, when you trade Jesse Winker, when you trade Lane Thomas, when you have kind of that sale that we all anticipated so far this season. That's the Nationals saying, so long, 2024. Here's our white flag. We're done with. It's now time to tank. And that's not a bad thing, by the way. Tanking is such like a crazy word to some people. But in reality of it, the reason why the Nationals have a Dylan Cruz, the reason why they had Bryce Harper, the reason why they had Steven Strasburg, why they had Anthony Rendon, was because they weren't that good. And you got a high pick. The Nationals are going to be in play for a very high pick in this year's draft. And the exciting part of it is that we know they really won't be as bad as their record indicates. You can see that this team is in an upward trajectory. Losing a few more games over the next 2 months, I do not care a single thing about it. What I do care about, though, is seeing Dylan Cruz up in the majors alongside James Wood, alongside CJ Abrams, and alongside all the younger core pieces. That is what I care about, and seeing what they can do together. Because that's what the future is. That is where we stand sitting here today on August 1st, 2024. We're looking towards the future. And the future is not that far away. It started with CJ Abrams and Mackenzie Gore, then James Wood, Keibert Ruiz, Josiah, all the other young pieces here. That is where this starts. So now going forward, I'm going to be expecting not all that many wins, but it starts with Dylan Cruz. And this guy is ready to make the jump. Bar none. Davey Martinez, Mike Rizzo, call him up. The time is now. And also, let me just drop this. The Nats are at home for basically the next week and a half, starting this Friday against the Milwaukee Brewers. You don't think they want to showcase one of their top prospects in all of baseball for a homestand that lasts over a week here in D.C. in the middle of August, where you just sold at the deadline? Not much to root for. They can give you one thing to root for. It's Dylan Cruz. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, check us out over on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Again, just search Locked On Nationals. While you're at it, make sure to find me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as our show page at LO_Nationals. That's where you'll find Twitter if you want to. But it doesn't matter, because you know what does matter? The second half of the season. But here's the thing. Lower your expectations. I'll explain why you should lower your expectations after we tell you guys about some of our new friends over at Liquid IV. And guys, you may not know about Liquid IV, but I can tell you this. When you're taking in America's pastime, which is baseball, you can never forget to hydrate with Liquid IV's popsicle firecracker flavor, a surefire summer hit. And maybe you're working out in the summer heat. As we all know, it is hot, sticky, and humid here in DC. You can get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America, because baseball and summer go together like Liquid IV and indulgent hydration. And of course, I always work out every single morning, and when I do, I pour a little bit of Liquid IV in there. It gives me a nice little sports drink right before I go work out, and then even after it, to replenish myself, I do Liquid IV. And of course, you can have faster hydration with our friends at Liquid IV. And of course, the benefits of them, it just makes you feel good. It makes you hydrated. And of course, also more importantly, it just tastes good. So blast off with iconic summer flavor, a popsicle firecracker, a festive blend of citron-fueled lemon, lime, tart cherry, and raspberry flavors. Find all your favorite flavors on their website, from acai berry and lemon lime to pina colada. And of course, you can tear, of course, if you want to, tear it, pour it in your drink. And of course, there is no more thirsty summers when you indulge in a hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. Now, let me tell you guys about some of our older friends at SupplyHouse. And of course, get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is a reliable way to order plumbing, h-vac, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support, industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business, and talk to a person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. As we were saying, Nationals fans, I'm warning you, lower your expectations. What I mean by that, let's just be blunt here. We're friends. We can talk about this. Lower your expectations. You're not going to be making the wild card team. You're not going to be making any sort of postseason run. If you haven't realized that, I'm sorry to break it to you. This team ain't going to the playoffs. This team isn't going to be sniffing the playoffs. Sorry. That's just where we are today. Here's where you can look forward to, though. And here's what I will be watching. Because you should not just stop watching. This is the exciting part. But with that said, though, there's going to be a learning curve for these younger guys. And of course, it all starts, in my opinion, with what we just talked about, with Dylan Cruz, James Wood. Those two young guys are at the forefront of this. You want to see what they do down the road. And whenever Dylan Cruz is called up to the majors, that's when we will actually really be looking forward to this. But you have to lower your expectations. I see people in the YouTube comment section, which, by the way, always appreciate it if you comment over on YouTube. Leave your comment, your thoughts, your opinions, whatever it is. It's always much appreciated. I always try to reply to all of them. So leave a comment there. But I saw someone say that James Wood, he hasn't been impressive. If you really look across baseball right now, I use Jackson Holliday as an example a lot. Jackson Holliday is a better prospect than James Wood. He's probably the only one out there, if we're just being honest. He finally hit his first home run yesterday. But it is hard to make the jump from AAA to the majors, especially as a hitter. And really as a pitcher as well. It's tough. It is hard. Guys that are throwing 99 down to the minors, it's a lot different when you're facing Emmanuel Clase or name that reliever, Edwin Diaz, the New York Mets. It is just different. Major League Baseball and AAA, you cannot compare the two. You just simply cannot. You have to lower your expectations for these younger prospects. James Wood is not going to look like an all-star from day one. It doesn't matter how good he is. Look at Elly De La Cruz, one of the better prospects over the last few years who came up. He struggled a ton last year. Jackson Holliday struggled, got like 2 hits over his first 10 or so games, got sent back down and struggled even in AAA and has since come up and has looked better starting yesterday. Right now, the trend across baseball is these younger prospects who do come up. It just simply takes some more time. They need to adjust. James Wood is 21 years old. The kid was just in high school. He was sitting in a classroom desk nearly 3 years ago at this time. 3-4 years ago. That's a lot to ask for. And now he's going up against Paul Skeens and guys like that, who he hasn't faced Paul Skeens yet, but he probably will at some point. You get the gist. It's going to take some time. But more importantly, from you and myself, it's going to take some patience. And with that patience will come better results. Now, you may be thinking, what are the better results? If they're not going to come in wins, and if it's all about these young guys, if the young guys are playing well, wouldn't you think that would come in wins? It's not necessarily about that. In fact, not going to lie to you, losing some games here over the next 2 months wouldn't be that bad. Am I rooting for the team to lose? Hell no. But on the other hand, it gives you one last crack potentially at a lottery pick that you could pick number 1 overall with the way that the new rules work. Just saying. The Nats have a chance at that. But as we say, lower your expectations, it doesn't mean that you should just quit on the season and quit on your younger guys. Things that I want to see are, I'm going to take CJ Abrams away from this conversation. One of my main things that I really want to see is Keibert Ruiz. What can he do over the next 2 months? Can he turn his season around? He has had a better month here recently, but it has still been an overwhelmingly disappointing season for him. Completely. From offense to defense. His highlight was getting in Jerkson Profar's face. What I need to see from Keibert Ruiz is power, consistency, better defense, Better everything. That is one of the main things that I really need to see. We could get into starting pitching, but ultimately, the starting pitching has been good. You need to look back at the guy behind the dish who just got an extension last year in spring training and say, this guy needs to be better because he just has to be. No doubt in my mind that he maybe will, but still, it has been a brutal stretch for Keibert Ruiz over this season. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Next, I guess we do have to talk about it. I've been holding it off. It has been a brutal series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Nats need a much needed day off today. So let's discuss it. What happened? What's going to happen? I don't know at this point, man. It was bad. So let's talk about it. But before we do that, I'm going to tell you guys about our friends over at Game Time. And guys, we've talked about Game Time before. You already know the drill. Game Time is simply the best ticket marketplace for you guys. And of course, Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. And prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. And of course, with killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seats, and their lowest price guaranteed, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. And of course, maybe you're going to the Brewers series starting tomorrow at Nationals Park. I can tell you what I'm going to do. It's a Friday night. It's a firework Friday night too, which is always really cool. I'm going to do this, and you should follow me as well. I'm going to pick my seats as I walk up Half Street from my office, which is just 2 blocks away from Nationals Park. When I do that, I'm going to find the views for my seats. And of course, I can find every kind of ticket and really every kind of flash zone deal that you get over with Game Time. And of course, there are last minute deals that save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports like the Nationals. And of course, even concerts, comedy, theater, and all the other fun events around this DC area. So what I will do, I'm going to take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So let's talk about it. The Nationals just got swept by the Diamondbacks. You're now at 49-60 on the season. Tuesday's game, though, was bad, horrid, scary, terrible, hideous, pathetic. However many words you want to describe, find a synonym for bad. It applies for that game. 17-0. Thank God the MLB trade deadline was here. Thank God. Because if you're an everydayer out there and you listen to the show, first off, thank you. Second off, you probably would have known I would have lost my mind. And of course, it kind of sounds a little stupid as I'm saying, lower your expectations in this show, but you can't lose 17-0. The Diamondbacks have been a pretty hot team as of recent here, so I kind of knew we were walking into a little bit of a buzzsaw. But the fact is, you cannot lose to a team like that. 17-0. You can't lose to any team like that. Even if this 2024 Nationals team was facing the 2008 New York Yankees, you can't lose like that. If you were facing the, 2021 Atlanta Braves, you can't lose 17-0. You just simply cannot do that. And on top of that, yesterday was just not all too great. Now, there was one decent thing in Game 3 of the series. Mackenzie Gore looked decent, but still, he's got around a 4.5 ERA on the season now, which I don't really look at ERAs, but still, it's not great. the step up that we've kind of been hoping for hasn't really come. He had that step up earlier on this season, but he has since taken a step back, in which is pretty disappointing if we're just being frank right now. But sitting here today, there's probably a part of you that's saying, should we be concerned about the future, about where this team lies? That's the God's honest truth. There's not much that can go that much poorly than what has happened over these last few days. As far as the guys go, you got to step it up. But ultimately, I don't know if that step up is going to be coming here anytime soon. So that was a really bad series. That's all I have to say about it. Like a disappointed father, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day. So we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Of course, on tomorrow's show on Friday, we have a staple. Your Nats prospect stock report. There have been some very good performances here recently from some prospects. So we'll discuss that on tomorrow's show. You will not want to miss that one. I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Have a good one. Enjoy the day off. The Nationals need it, by the way. I'll catch you on the flip side. Have a good one.